make that happen. And then you back into, well, how much do you need to earn? How much do you need to save? Where do you need to allocate? How do you need to invest? What type of accounts do you need? Like, then you begin to put the plan together. There are some fundamentals, as I talk about in the note. You need to have an emergency fund. You need to have an understanding of your budget, making sure you're not spending more than you're bringing in, and then assigning purpose to your dollars. And then you need to make sure you have the proper insurances and estate planning. Like, there's some things that are traditional planning that you must do before you get to the authentic life planning. But then when you go to design your life, as I'm calling it, as at RLS Wealth Life Design Plus, when you get to that phase, it is more about the qualitative part of the life that you want to live. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Beyond the Notes on the On Our Pursuit podcast. If you're new to the show, this is the show where I break down the last week's daily notes. If you don't know what the daily notes are, head on over to justincastelli.io. Up top, you'll see daily notes. Every day, I write a short note that has something to do with your pursuit of your authentic life and the connection of spirit, mind, body, and money, and sometimes even a little bit of creativity. You can subscribe to get it in your email, but you can also subscribe to get it on LinkedIn. If I have my preference, go to the email. But if you want to get on LinkedIn, I don't care. I just want people to find these, read these, because the feedback has been great, and I've had a lot of fun writing them. So on Beyond the Notes, I go through the last week, so we'll be going through the 15th through the 21st, and just talking about each of the notes, giving you some more insight, because as I write these, and then I share them, and then I think about them, I have more thoughts that come, or certain things I wasn't able to fit in on the writing that I think is worth sharing and kind of diving deeper, going beyond the note. So let's dive into the 15th. The 15th was called Extend a Little Grace, and if you read the note, you know that there was a story that sparked this note. So the long story short is, my wife owns a boys' clothing boutique store. It's retail. There's a lot of interactions. For the most part, 99% of her customers are phenomenal, great, supportive people, return customers. They really appreciate all the hard work she's put in, creating a great experience, high level of customer service. Very few complaints. But there are the 1% of the people in the world that just tend to be difficult to deal with. And sometimes they complain over things that are not the fault of the store. For instance, mailing issues. Once it gets into the post office's hands, there's not much a retail shop can do, but the fault falls on the store owner. Things like that. Well, my wife takes that very personal, and I try to make her think about it and remind her that you never know what's going on in the life of the person that might be being difficult to you in that moment. And chances are, the thing that they're upset about has nothing to do with you, or in her case, her. Oftentimes, there's something else bigger going on, and this is just a way for them to let go of their stress, let go of their frustration, take out the bad things going on in their lives on somebody else, and they may not even intentionally do it. But if you go into a situation where someone's being unkind to you, and you know that you did nothing warranting that behavior, then you just have to give them a little bit of grace, extend them some grace, and realize that it's probably not about you. There's something bigger, and you getting mad, you shooting back at them, you clapping back is not going to make things any better. It's only going to add more stress to their situation, which will make them be even more unkind to you going forward. So the scenario here is an individual bought something from my wife's store. They shipped it next day, and she couldn't find it. It wasn't delivered, and come to find out, the address was entered incorrectly. My wife spent a lot of time on the phone with the post office trying to track it down, keeping this customer up to date. And the customer was just really nasty and rude through the whole thing, blaming her, complaining, when my wife really didn't have to spend the time going on, talking with the post office to find this out. The customer could have done that herself, but my wife still did that. And I told my wife through the whole thing, you're doing the right things, everything will work themselves out, but you don't know what's going on. And for somebody to be this rude over something you have no control over, there's probably something bigger going on. Well, long story even shorter, at the end of the ordeal, the customer emailed my wife and said, thank you for your great customer service. I appreciate everything you did. You kept me up to date, and I didn't realize how rude I was during the whole process. I've got a lot of things going on in my personal life that I didn't realize were impacting me in other areas, but it were, and thank you. So in this situation, Ange could have been rude back. She had every right to be, but as a store owner, you want to please your customers and do what's right and provide good customer service, and she didn't, and that's just naturally who she is. But she extended grace. She went above and beyond to help this individual get their thing, and at the end of the day, there was something going on, and because my wife didn't add to the stress, it helped this woman realize that she was, carrying out some stressful emotions to other people who didn't deserve it. So if you ever find yourself in that situation where you're on the receiving end of some unkindness, which I really love that word, give that person some grace. Give them the benefit of the doubt that there is something going on under the surface level that you don't know about, and don't add to the stress going on. Let them work through. Don't take it personal, because it's probably not about you, especially if you know you didn't do anything. And the final reason to extend grace, well, second to final reason, you will feel good doing this. Not carrying that person's negative energy into your life will make you feel good as well. You might be a little frustrated and you might want to say something back, but then after time goes by, you will be glad that you didn't, because you know it doesn't solve anything. And the final reason to extend some grace is there will be a time where you will be the person giving out the unkind behavior. It happens to the best of us. It will happen to all of us. We're human beings. We're emotional. Things happen, and sometimes we take it out on other people. If you extend grace, you open yourself up to receiving grace back when you are that person. So extend a little bit of grace. You're sitting at the stoplight, someone doesn't go right on red. Don't hammer the horn. Don't overreact. And then as you receive that, don't overreact back. Give everybody a little bit of grace, and things will progress very nicely going forward. All right, the 16th, this one will be a little bit shorter since we spent a lot of time on extending grace. Keep pursuing. I did not wear this sweatshirt intentionally thinking about this post, but this was a really short one, and there's a quote I want to read from Usain Bolt, which was basically the whole post. So Usain Bolt, everybody knows who he is, probably the greatest sprinter of all time, and his quote says, "I trained 4 years to run 9 seconds, and people give up when they don't see results in 2 months." And then I just said underneath it, keep pursuing. So that's the whole post. And the reminder there is, whatever it is you're pursuing, it takes time. Anybody you see that you think is an overnight success, the reality of it is, it was the 10-year journey that looks like an overnight success. Everything takes time. So don't give up because you don't see the results you want immediately. Whether that is a physical change, whether that is an emotional change, whether that is a spiritual change, whether that is a change in direction of your life, you have to give it time. If Usain Bolt can train 4 years to run 9 seconds, you surely can give a life-changing event or opportunity or life-changing change more time than just a couple months to be able to have that change play out. So keep pursuing, and don't force it, and don't give up. Just because it's not happening right away, it will happen. And sometimes I think you have to be tested to see how bad do you really want it. All right, so that takes care of keep pursuing. Find your 100-foot wave. So there is a documentary, and I didn't even know it. I wrote 100-foot this blog post, and then later on that day, I got a message saying that the season 2 of 100-foot wave kicked off that same day. So one of those universal winks. I wrote about it, and then later that day, I had no idea the second season started. But the premise of the documentary is following these big wave surfers around as they try to find a 100-foot wave and surf the biggest waves in the world. And the post could have very easily been about Garrett McNamara, who is the OG when it comes to big wave surfing. And his quest, and the documentary really centers around him and his quest for this bigger wave. But there's an individual that caught my eye in maybe the 4th or 5th episode named Mike Prickett. And the story is laid out in the Daily Note, but real quick, Mike Prickett is the world's best ocean cinematographer. He's done all of the greatest film of surfing, in the water, underwater. He's been doing it for 40 years. There's images of him and video of him going underwater with these big boxes to protect the camera years ago. And he was the best in the biz. And because he was the best in the biz, he found himself out in Tahiti recording a commercial in the water and saw a deep water diver struggling in a down current, which I didn't even know existed, and it's really scary to think about. But nonetheless, he swam 220 feet down to go get this diver. Was able to get him out and calm down and go. But as they were going up, realized they didn't have enough oxygen for both of them to make it to the top. And I don't know if you know about deep sea diving. I don't know much about it, free diving. But you can't come up from depths, for very far depths real quick because of the pressurization and oxygen in the blood, and things can happen. Well, they had to go faster. They didn't make the stop where they're supposed to. And Prickett ended up getting a oxygen bubble in his spine and ultimately led him to being paralyzed. And again, it would have been very easy to talk about passion and the undeniable quest for this passion when talking about the big wave surfers. These guys and women structured their lives around the ability to go surf these big waves, moving there, structuring their life that's all they're after. It makes me think of Tyler, one of my video editors, who's one of the very first episodes of On Our Pursuit, has structured his life to be able to surf whenever he wants. It would have been easy to focus on that and say, hey, these people's passion are so great, they made their life surroundings supportive. But what I wanted to highlight was Prickett's passion for his work. Being in the water would require you to have the use of your legs, and being paralyzed from the waist down, he wouldn't be able to get in the water like he used to. So his love and passion for filming the ocean and filming surfing in particular could have been over. But his passion was too great, and he found a way. So thanks to technology and advancements that are out there, he's able to still be the world's best ocean cinematographer, filming these guys and women going after the 100-foot waves from a van. And he's directing other photographers out there, getting them to get the right angles to get the shots, and using drones to get the same shots he would have got if he were out there. So it would have been very easy to feel bad for himself that he could no longer do the thing that he loved and go find something else. But instead, his passion was so great, he found a way to keep it a big part of his life and continue to do the thing that he does better than anybody else in the world. So that, to me, is when I think about finding your passions and when I think about finding your authentic life, it's the passion, it's the things, it's the life that you would do anything that you had to continue it going forward, if that's what's supposed to happen. It very well could have been in that situation that was the end of that chapter of life and he was off to do something else. But that chapter needed to continue, and he found a way to continue it because his love for that passion was so great, he would not let it fall away. So that was what I wanted to highlight more than the surfers himself, but Mike Prickett. The 19th, the 18th, the role of a financial plan. So yes, I am a financial advisor. Money is a part of the very important equation of spirit, mind, body, money at the end. There is a time to bring your financial plan to these conversations. I will always be a financial advisor. So from time to time, I want to sprinkle these things in. And what I wanted to highlight here is traditional financial planning would lead you to believe that your financial plan is a 60-page document, maybe a one-page document is what we're seeing today, and it's what I use, that tells you probabilities of success, tells you analysis of your asset allocation, tells you how your savings going. And those documents are really important, but that's not the role of your financial plan if you're pursuing your authentic life. The plan is the actual execution. It's the things you're going to do, the commitments you make, the sacrifices you make to make that authentic life a reality. And a financial plan in this way needs to start with the end in mind, not the beginning. Not telling you, hey, you need to save X amount of dollars to be able to retire by this age under these assumptions. It is, what is the life that you want to live today and in the future and in between? What does that authentic life look like? And then how do what's the income you need to make that happen? And then you back into, well, how much do you need to earn? How much do you need to save? Where do you need to allocate? How do you need to invest? What type of accounts do you need? Like, then you begin to put the plan together. There are some fundamentals, as I talk about in the note. You need to have an emergency fund. You need to have an understanding of your budget, making sure you're not spending more than you're bringing in, and then assigning purpose to your dollars. And then you need to make sure you have the proper insurances and estate planning. Like, there's some things that are traditional planning that you must do before you get to the authentic life planning. But then when you go to design your life, as I'm calling it, as at RLS Wealth Life Design Plus, when you get to that phase, it is more about the qualitative part of the life that you want to live, and then you plug the numbers in. So instead of making the numbers determine the life that you live, make the life that you want determine what happens with the numbers and work backwards. So the role of your financial plan is not this document. A financial plan is, not analysis. A financial plan is actually actions. It's things you're going to do that drive you towards that authentic life. And actually, your authentic life drives what those actions are. So that is what the role of a financial plan. It's to help you create the life that you want. Retirement will be there, college will be there, but those aren't the only things you should be striving for. That's what you're told you're supposed to want, and that's a part of everybody's life, but that's not the main focus. Those things will show up, but that's not the main focus of your life. All right, now to the 19th, adjusting the throttle. So it kind of ties into keep pursuing. As you're trying to get towards that authentic life, there will be times where you'll feel like, I'm just not doing enough. I want to move faster, and I want to push the throttle to the ground and go as fast as possible. And there will be times where you actually need to pull back on the throttle and slow down for a variety of reasons. Maybe you've gone too far ahead in embodying and visualizing this future life. You need to give the physical world a chance to catch up. But other times, the timing might not be right. Your authentic life will evolve. You have multiple authentic lives. My authentic life of the future, which I know is what it's going to be, is not that authentic life of today. And sometimes I find myself wanting to rush to the future authentic life, but they don't align. My authentic life in the future is more centered around a different type of planning relationship with clients. It's more speaking, more writing, more podcasting, maybe more time away from home. And the reason that doesn't align with now is my authentic life today is centered around my family and my clients and then everything around that. I'm not willing to sacrifice being at all of the boys' soccer games and basketball games and helping out coaching and being home and being able to go pick Leo up at school and walk home. I'm not sacrificing that to be able to live the authentic life in the future. That will come. So there's no reason for me to push the throttle down and do some things that I could do today to try to make that happen faster. That authentic life of the future will happen when the time is right. I just need to keep on moving forward. So the throttle has not been pulled all the way back. I just lightened up on it. I'm moving towards that authentic life, living my authentic life of today and allowing it to continue to evolve in that directions. Things I'm doing today will set up that future authentic life, and that is a part of today's authentic life. So I don't know how many times I said authentic life. Maybe we'll make it a drinking game. But nonetheless, when you're on your pursuit, as you keep pursuing, you don't always have to be throttled down going as fast as possible. Sometimes you need to pull back and let it go because the timing's not right. And when you realize the time is right, then you slam that thing down, you go full speed ahead. The 20th, every pursuit does not need to end with entrepreneurship. And this is the thought for this came from a talk I gave. Shout out to my friends at Millhouse. Thank you for letting me come in and talk about how your financial planning is more than money and the connection of spirit, mind, body, and money. It was a great talk. I enjoyed myself. But in it, one of the members of the group talked about how not everybody necessarily needs to be an entrepreneur. Not everybody needs to have a business. And they had an experience where they came from a family of entrepreneurs and not everything worked out the way you'd want to. And it made me think about my messaging, and I don't want to be the person who says everybody needs to own a business, because that's not the case. Not everybody's authentic life ends in entrepreneurship. Not everybody is pursuing starting a business, and that's perfectly okay. I think the reason I tilt towards that is I do believe a lot of what people want to pursue is something new that they've thought of on their own that has an entrepreneurial flavor to it, if you will. So it may not always be starting an own business, but there is probably something that you want to do that's unique to your thoughts that I want you to pursue. And if that happens to be a business, great. But not everybody needs to be starting their own business. Not everybody needs to be an entrepreneur. And reality is we need people who work together in a team at a bigger corporation to make things happen, or work at a hospital. So we don't need a world full of entrepreneurs. What we need is a world full of people who are pursuing the life that allows them to live authentically. So while you may not be pursuing a business, I hope you are pursuing a life, career, everything that falls into it that allows you to be you, allows you to authentically live your life and do the things you want to do. So it may not be starting a business, but it also may not be staying at the firm you're at today because there's something else you'd rather be doing. So I just wanted to make sure I took some time to say, while I love entrepreneurship, it's been great, and if you have that part of your plan as a part of your pursuit, I want you to plan for it and give yourself that opportunity. But if that's not a part of your plan, you're not living a less authentic life. You can still live your authentic life without pursuing entrepreneurship. You don't have to go down that path if that's not what is authentic to you. And don't feel like you're not as successful or you're living a lesser quality of life if that's not the path for you. You get to determine your authentic life. That's the beauty of it. It's authentic because it's unique to you. And only you know what that is. So don't let people like me who love entrepreneurship and kind of tilt that way make you feel like you're not living your authentic life or you're doing something wrong if you're not moving towards starting your own business or something along those lines. You determine your authentic life, which is the perfect segue, and I couldn't have planned it better, and this is the way the universe works for today's post. You are who you are. So there is a quote from Anthony Hopkins that I saw on, I believe his Instagram this morning, that jumped out to me. He said, "My philosophy is, it's none of my business what people say of me, and think of me. I am what I am, and I do what I do. I expect nothing, I accept everything, and it makes life so much easier." And I really love that because there is a freedom you get when you get to the point where you care less about what other people think about you. And I don't think you can actually be perfect. Maybe if you're a monk. I am not perfect at this, but I am more aware of it. And when I catch myself thinking and making decisions, trying to anticipate what people might think, I call myself out on it and I try to pull myself back so that what I'm really doing, the decisions I'm making, are really about what do I think, what makes me happiest, or what is best for my family. Like it's not all just about me, but it's not about receiving praise or acceptance from others outside, especially people that I don't even know. Family, friends, clients are very important, and you do need to take into consideration those people's thoughts, but the greater world, the social media world, it shouldn't matter what other people think. Because the reality is what they think about you is actually a reflection of what they think about themselves, good or bad. So do what you think is best for you and for your family, what makes you happiest, and do it without worrying about what other people think. And what I think will end up happening is if you're doing what's right for you for the right reasons, then the praise that you might have been looking for, you will end up finding without having to make it a priority. You will be doing great work for people who need that great work. They will find it. They will give you the praise and the confidence you need to keep going forward. So there is a freedom, but I can't get you to understand what that freedom feels like. I can tell you that it exists, but it's one of those things you have to experience yourself. So you can read about it, you can hear about it, but until you actually get to that point yourself, for me, it was kind of when I turned 40. I don't know what it is about the magic age, where I realized I didn't care as much what others thought. I hope that people like me. I'm going to be a good person, but at the end of the day, I can't control what others think about me, and I'm not going to let that influence the decisions that I make. It's very freeing. My hope is that through blog posts like this and conversations like this, I can help you realize that before you turn 40, because it's a superpower. So don't worry about what others people think. You are who you are. Do what you do. Accept nothing, or expect nothing. Accept everything, and life becomes a lot easier, as Anthony Hopkins suggests. All right, so that is everything from this week's Daily Notes. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll be back next Friday with another episode. Pay attention for this popping up on YouTube. It'll be on the podcast as well. I'll cut clips and put it out there. But really am enjoying this. I may even do a Instagram Live as I record this and let you see behind the scenes of mistakes that may happen in all the setup. So with that, I want to thank you for tuning in. Thank you for reading these. Remember, justincastelli.io, the Daily Notes at top. You can subscribe there through email, or you can subscribe on LinkedIn. My preference is email if you want to help out. Leave some comments. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. I would love for this to get some traction, because I think there's a message more people need to hear. And the algos love likes. They like shares. They like comments. So help more people find this if you find any value in it. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for joining me on my pursuit. It is an honor to be a part of yours. And as always, let's keep pursuing.